This is tutorial 9 in the Beach House series. In preparation for this presentation, I've done a couple of things. I've finished putting most of the windows in. I've made a smaller window for here, which I've cloned across to the other side to use in the bathroom, which is the same size. I've also made the French doors. Rather than make them from scratch, I've actually cloned this window here, rotated it, and then use the Select and Uniform Scale tool to squash both its height and width until such time as it actually fits into that space. I've also made it thinner across here. We don't want it sticking out as far as this window frame. Now the issue around that is that if you, because that's been grouped, if I use the thickness axis to scale the door thinner, it's also going to make the glass very thin. So to avoid that from happening, I ungrouped it. I just clicked on group up the top and then went ungroup. I'll just show you what that looks like. Get rid of that. Okay, so I went up to group and I simply clicked on ungroup to separate the glass and the frame from being the one object. I could then scale the thickness of the door without altering the thickness of the glass. And having done that, grouped it back together. So with a little bit of fiddling, I've managed to get the width correct, in other words, half the width of the opening, and I've also squashed it to get a little bit, reduce the height slightly. Once I did that, I've actually cloned it, copied it across to the other side. So the next thing that I need to do is to create a frame, an external frame around that. It looks a little bit odd with the door frame itself just butted up against the weatherboards. So we're going to make a frame, and I think that it's often a good idea just to use existing structures and modify them rather than make completely new structures. So I'm going to clone the window again, edit, clone, copy, OK. I'll just move that somewhere a little bit out of the way, bring it out in front, and I want to ungroup it. So I'll go group, ungroup, so it's now two separate objects. It's the glass and the frame. I don't need the glass, so there it is. I think I've selected the glass. Where's the glass? Lost the glass. It's in there somewhere. There it is. That's it. Got it selected there now. Now I don't need that glass, so I just hit the delete key and the glass is gone. So what I'm left with is a white frame that I can manipulate to fit around that door opening. So I'm probably better off to position that in a top view. So we'll go into the top view and we'll find that frame. There it is sitting out in the open. We'll move it into the wall. So it's the correct thickness, but its actual size and position is not going to be correct at the moment. So I need to manipulate it a little bit. So firstly, I'll maximize that viewport and I'll have a go at trying to position it so that it fits the door opening. Now, a little bit hard to see in this view, but I think the door opening starts just there on that little line and it goes down to there. So, oh, hang on. No, actually, it's just there. I'll just select, yeah, okay. So it's a little bit tricky. But we need to position that in the correct spot. So I'm going to scale it to get the height correct in the front view. So I can see the top of the door opening just there. It's a little bit, hasn't got enough height in it, so I'm going to drag some more height into it. And I'm deliberately going to bury the bottom part of the frame in below the floor because we don't want to see that. We just want to see the top and the side. So I've just got to drop it down now so the top becomes visible and the sides actually disappear. So there we go. And we need to move it along. So I'm just trying to find which view is best to do that. And here we go. We probably need to, we can see the opening there. The whole thing needs to go a bit to the right. Just move that aside and you can see the extent of the door opening. And the width is probably getting fairly close to what we need. We just want it to hang outside those those two door frames. So somewhere about there's pretty much on the money. Might need a little bit of a tweak to get it perfect. So I'll have a look at a close-up view of it. And you can see now that that door or pair of doors has a frame around it. Now I think I've probably dropped it a little bit low. So I'll get hold of it and just lift it up using the select and move tool. I want to be able to see the top of the door frames. Okay, so just barely be able to see them. And I might even pay me to zoom in a little just so I've got a better look at that. So a little bit of fiddling around about there. Now, I'm not 100% sure that it's exactly where it needs to be on the other side. And the only way I'm really going to know that is to probably move the camera. I think in this case, looking at it in a camera view is going to be helpful. So I'm going to click on the camera in that view, move it around. I'll get somehow or other I've gone for a different lens. I'll go back to a 20mm, nice wide angle, maybe 35mm lens. Move it in a bit, move it actually around to there, and I want to get the camera target and position it more near the door. So back over that way, and then I'll bring the camera in closer. A little bit of fiddling around there, and I think move the target a little bit more in that direction. And I need to drop the camera down. It's up pretty high now, so I'll do that in this view. Okay. And I can sort of see now in that view that that frame's pretty much where I want it. So I'll just give it another render just to confirm that that's what I'm looking for. As previously mentioned, the rendering times are a little slow now because of all the glass reflections that have to be processed. And that's actually taking a little longer than I wanted it to. The other thing you'll notice is that in the process of doing all that, I can see that that window there is not quite in the right spot. We can see a little bit of weatherboard material on the inside of the frame. So now's a good opportunity just to select and move that whole window over slightly just to overcome that particular issue. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think that'll do for this particular tutorial. So if you can, after completing this one, you've got your French doors installed, you've got a frame around your French doors, and you've got all your windows installed. That's pretty good going. In the next tutorial, we'll put the floor of the house in. So at the moment, it's just appearing to sit on the deck surface. Obviously, we need a different material on the inside, so that'll be the basis of our next tutorial. Thanks for watching.